Hello and welcome to the channel. My name's Michael and this is my indie publishing adventure. This is the third in a series of videos that I'm doing, tracking my progress from the very beginning right through to publishing of my self-publishing journey. Now this episode will be on working with an editor, so working through the edits that your editor sends back on your finished manuscript. Now this is just to give you a little bit of a taster of what to expect, the different types of editing. We'll talk a little bit about pricing at the end, having a little understanding of kind of expectation versus what you actually get back. As I mentioned during the beginning of this series, I tend to be very open and honest about the whole process, and so we'll talk a little bit about kind of my experience in receiving the edits back and working through them, and expectation versus reality. But without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the type of editing I went for. So there's three types of editing. There's proofreading, which is like just correcting all the, making sure you've got your full stops in the right place, capital letters on your names and places and stuff like that. There's copy and line editing, which is tightening up the prose as well. So all the stuff that proofreading does, but then tightening up the prose, making sure that the style is kind of maintained. It's going through it line by line and just looking at it in that kind of, through that lens of just tightening everything up, making everything sound a little bit better, look a little bit better. And then there's developmental editing, which is looking at the story as a whole, looking at the character arcs, kind of reporting on all that, the middle dragged or this, or you jumped too far, you jumped into the story too quickly and all that. So I went for copy and line editing with the added on kind of request of helping with the prose and the style and tone kind of maintenance throughout the story. The reason I didn't go for developmental editing is two reasons. So the first one was just price. I just didn't have the money to pay for the developmental editing service. The cheapest ones I could find was still almost £1,000. And that is not to say that by any means it's not worth every penny. It's just something that I couldn't afford at this moment in time. And the second reason is that I've been working on this novel for 8 years, writing it for 6. Then I went through trying to get it traditionally published, and then the last year has been preparing it for self-publishing. And through that time, it's just been through so many edits. I must have edited it about 6 or 7 times when I got it back from beta readers, when I was getting feedback from agents, just when I was reading it and deciding on changes and thinking about the sequels and what I wanted to put in there. And I just changed it so many times that I just couldn't bear to think of the editor coming back and saying, okay, we need to change it again, and working through all these extra edits. And so they were the two reasons why I just didn't go for it. I think if I hadn't been through so many edits already, I might have just waited and saved up and went for the full editing service and got the developmental editing. But just because of the fact that, as I say, I'd just been working on it for so long and was so eager to get it out there that I skipped it this time. It's a little bit of a cut corner. It might be something I live to regret. And I would definitely use developmental editing in my next book if I write a sequel or anything like that. I would definitely look at using developmental editing because it's such an important tool. But it just at this point, there was just a couple of things going against me in my head, why I didn't go for it. So on the copy and line editing that I requested, it cost just over £400. Now my manuscript was, not large in the sense of Game of Thrones or Wheel of Time or some of those big tomes you see, but my book was just shy of 110,000 words. So when I was putting that in, it was coming up, it was boosting the price up to kind of what was originally quoted, which is what I expected. And as we were working through it, it took 21 days to get back. I was really happy with what I received back, particularly in the sense that how thorough the editorial process was. You'll see how much kind of punctuation errors to hear, how many kind of examples of missing commas, just putting the wrong thing, even down to the way it was formatted, I hadn't formatted it correctly with like the indentation marks at the beginning of each paragraph and stuff. All these things that the editor was able to pick up on that I just missed when you're just in that kind of writing frenzy, I was really happy with. Some of the prose kind of things that were highlighted to me as well were absolutely fantastic, and I really appreciated them. It really did kind of strengthen the book. So one of the things that the editor pointed out to me that I just never thought about before in a million years was like, as soon as you use the word suddenly in a sentence, you take kind of all the surprise and urgency out of that. It just kind of sets the reader up to be surprised by something, and thus takes away that surprise. And once it had been highlighted to me once, and I was like, well, that's a really fair point. I'd done an old-fashioned Control F search on the word, and seeing how many times I've made this mistake, I was able to kind of go through and change those things. Some of the other things that the editor pointed out in my work was like where I was using the same word, like all within a close thing to each other. So the word look, for instance, I would say he looked over here, and then they looked over there, and then when he looked here. And when you're writing, that just doesn't seem like a normal, like it just seems like a natural thing. Your brain is just like explaining what you're kind of visualizing. But you notice when you kind of read something that these kind of things stick out. So the fact that the editor was able to pick up on that, highlight all the instances of that, was brilliant. There were other things as well, so similar stuff, but where they were able to point out, oh, I'm a bit confused, you said one thing, and it kind of leans towards the other. This is incredibly helpful because if the editor is confused and they read a lot of books and like, kind of look at it in an analytical way, if they're confused and a reader who's just flashing through your book and just like kind of reading it for enjoyment, they're going to be confused as well. So keep an eye on that. You know, if your editor's confused, likely the reader's going to be confused. You got to remember, when you're writing it, you know all the information, you know all the backstories, you know what's going on in each of the characters' heads, and the reader doesn't have that luxury. So just make sure that you're kind of considering that. There are parts as well where an editor will write something that maybe you don't agree with. You know, you don't have to, the point I'm making is you don't have to accept all of the suggested changes. There'll be times where an editor will say, oh, you know, this doesn't kind of fit there, and you might disagree. Like, they're there to kind of provide the service to you. Maybe it's different when you go down like the traditional route, and the editor might be a bit more forceful and be like, you know, we're publishing your book, therefore you know, you should really listen to us. Whereas, you know, when you're self-published, you've got the kind of control there. You're hiring the editor, they're doing you the service, and you don't have to accept all those changes. So I just want to quickly mention what I was picking up on the beginning of that kind of expectation versus reality and what was delivered. So as I say, I was really happy with the work that my editor done. I would definitely use them again if I was just looking for like a copy line editing experience where they were just picking up on grammar and stuff. But when I kind of envisioned working with an editor, I'd hoped that there was going to be like a whole process of working through. They were really going to improve my writing tenfold and take it from being what I thought was a really good book into like being a great book and something that I was really kind of, yeah, just really strengthen it and just give me a load of confidence in it. That's not to say that I'm not confident in my work in the first place, but I suppose I'm a little bit cynical, and I'm just looking at my work in the sense of, you know, surely there's someone else who can come along and help me improve it. And what I got back just wasn't that. Now, I read a lot of reviews in the build up to my editor, and everyone spoke really highly of her, and I left a good review as well, because as I say, I was really pleased with what I did get back. But I would just be really clear when you're looking for your own editor, when you're going through this process, of what it is you're expecting and whether they provide that service. Because I had kind of hoped to be working through like a load of changes, and that maybe you use this way, maybe you do that, maybe maybe this paragraph works better like this. I don't know. Now this is my very first time ever publishing a book, ever working with an editor, ever doing anything like this, so everything was just in my head. I had no kind of prior knowledge going in how to do anything, so this is definitely not like a hit piece against the editor I used or anything like that. It's just understanding what your expectations are and then finding like the kind of right editor to suit you. And yeah, that'd just be my only advice, is just make sure that the editor that you kind of hire, and maybe the editor I was looking for is probably what I should expect from a developmental editor, who kind of look at it through a wider lens, maybe scrutinise the work a little bit more. But yeah, there was just that little bit of when I got the manuscript back and I thought, okay, this is going to be a couple of weeks work as I work through this, and then it wasn't. It turned out to be just a couple of days work, as I was just making sure that all the punctuations and the suggestions and stuff. Final point is that when I finished the editing and I was just reading through it again, the work that was done by my editor just made it look so much more professional. Everything was in the right place, and even when I was reading it, like the kind of pauses they put in when they like changed it so it was a new paragraph when it should have been, and stuff like that, stuff that I just missed, everything just flowed better. It was reading so much more like the books that I read every single day. So I was super pleased with that, and yeah, the book's just in a really good place now. But next time, as I say, I won't be skipping that developmental editing step. I'll be going like in 2 feet all the way, and yeah, just hoping for that more kind of thorough analysis of my work. That's everything I've got today. It was a really short video, or hopefully short enough. Just going through the process or my experience working with an editor, and just being honest about that kind of expectation reality thing, because that's what I want this channel to be, is like everything in real time. I literally finished the edits a couple of days ago, and yeah, I just wanted to jump on and kind of walk you through that. Some really exciting videos coming up on the channel. The next one will be on working with a cover artist. I'm doing this at the minute. It's going amazing. I'm really enjoying it. Looking for a cover design artist, working through everything, and sending my ideas out and seeing them come to life has just been absolutely brilliant. So I'm looking forward to getting the final piece back and starting to show people that, and I'll be sure to put it on the channel. And then another useful video will follow that around kind of formatting your book and getting it into a fit state, ready to kind of start transforming it into ebook format and paperback format and stuff like that. So keep an eye out for them. Remember to like, subscribe to the video, follow me on X, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks.